So your essay this week is the rhetorical analysis essay. For this essay, you will conduct a rhetorical analysis on any genre of your choice. Consider the three rhetorical appeals of persuasion that we are talking about this week as well. Ethos, which means credibility, pathos, which means emotion, and logos, which means logic. You will apply these three rhetorical appeals to one, remember only one, specific genre. So you're only choosing one genre to apply these three rhetorical appeals to. Any genre of your choice. Remember that a genre, we talked about genres last week, is a type of text, document, speech, image, etc. It's any type of communication device that is recognizable to audiences based on its own conventions. So I've provided a list of genres here for you to choose from. So make sure you choose one from this list. And it really just depends on what you're interested in. Like I said, this class is very open topic. So I want you to choose a topic that interests you, therefore also a genre that interests you. So what I've seen, the most common genres that I've seen for this class that students in the past have chosen are either written song lyrics are popular that students like to choose, or just the overall audio and lyrics together of a song. That could be something that you could analyze. If you're more interested in fiction, rhetorical analysis papers can go into that route as well if you'd like. If you want to analyze a short story or a poem, I've had some students analyze a poem. You could also analyze a book chapter. If you choose a book, just make sure you only analyze one chapter in that book, because analyzing an entire book is too daunting of a task for this paper. Another popular genre that students have analyzed in the past is a news article. It doesn't even have to be a news article, just an overall feature article or an opinion piece is a really excellent choice for this paper, because as you're finding out this week anyways, one of the small assignments that you're working on is a rhetorical appeals practice where you're analyzing one of the articles I provided for you. So finding a different article on your own to analyze for this paper yields a lot of results in various examples of ethos, pathos, and logos. Another very, very popular choice that students choose for this paper is a music video, because a lot of the times music videos have an underlying story going on in them or social commentary. So music videos could be a really excellent way to find different examples of ethos, pathos, and logos. Video advertisements are also really great, because in my lecture this week, I showed you a few examples of those, and I was able to find ethos, pathos, and logos pretty well in video advertisements. So a different video advertisement that you find on your own could be an excellent choice. And lately, actually, and this is a really good idea, a lot of students like to choose a movie trailer, because the overall goal of a movie trailer is to persuade an audience to go see the movie. So they definitely use these rhetorical strategies in a trailer. So movie trailers are excellent forms of genres. Whatever you choose, just remember you're only choosing one. It's not a compare-contrast essay, so you're only choosing one genre and analyzing ethos, pathos, and logos of it. So once you choose a genre, whichever you choose, you're going to conduct a rhetorical analysis of that genre, where you examine the audience of it, its purpose, and the ethos, pathos, and logos of it to determine and find out how it persuades the audience. Does it use all three rhetorical appeals throughout, or does it use ethos and logos more? If you choose something of the fiction sort, you're probably going to find the most example of pathos, for example. So you're just conducting an analysis of this genre. Remember that this is an analytical paper, so you're analyzing. It's okay to disagree with what you're finding in the genre's content. Explain, why, and provide evidence from that genre. All I mean by that is when you find examples of ethos, for example, in the genre, provide specific evidence from that genre to prove why it's ethos. Always provide evidence from the genre for each of these to prove why, since you were analyzing. And just remember that this paper must include these 5 things to analyze with that genre. The order does not matter, just make sure that all 5 are included. If you're having trouble choosing a genre, think about what topics interest you that could make it a little bit more fun. Don't choose something because it might seem easier. For example, a lot of students think, oh, I'll analyze a photograph because it's short. It takes a few seconds to look at a photograph and that's it. That might make it harder because one image to write a 700 word or more 700 word paper out of it is very difficult versus, when you read an article, you could find numerous examples of ethos, pathos, and logos. It's better. It doesn't have to be a topic that you're very familiar with. Maybe it's just a topic that interests you and you want to learn more about. But just think about what interests you. What do you like to read about, listen to, look at, research, etc. A lot of students, I really like to listen to podcasts. So if there's a podcast that you listen to, you can analyze an episode of a podcast as well. Another thing that's really popular is a scene in a movie, TV show, or documentary. If there's a favorite movie you have and there's this one scene that you love, and just analyzing the ethos, pathos, and logos of that scene is fun and something different. Just remember also, same with the book chapter, if you choose a movie or if you choose a TV show, you're only analyzing one scene in it, because analyzing an entire movie, it's too much for this type of paper. You really are just focusing on one specific scene in that movie or TV show, so keep that in mind. And just remember that this is an analytical paper. It's not a persuasive one. You're not persuading me to watch the genre, to listen to the genre. You are applying a critical lens of the rhetorical persuasion strategies, meaning you're applying the critical lens of ethos, pathos, and logos, audience and purpose, to that genre to find out, to analyze how that genre is persuading you as an audience. So this is an analytical paper. You're finding out how this genre successfully or unsuccessfully uses the rhetorical appeals of persuasion on you as an audience member. And just note, in my rhetorical appeals lecture this week and your activities this week, there's some samples. I use a lot of samples of movie scenes. I use article samples. I use video advertisements. Just note that you can't choose any of those examples that were used in anything this week. So find something different. You can find a similar topic, but it can't be that exact same genre that were used in any of the student samples or lectures or discussions or assignments. So just keep that in mind. And the final draft of this essay, this is due Sunday, June 7th. So think about format. Analytical papers are a little different. It's not a 5-paragraph essay so much, so it's a little different. But so think about media and design format that's required. Make sure you have a title page, again with the title of the paper, whatever you want to call it, your name and the course. The entire paper should be 700 words or more. That's about 3 full pages of text, and that does not count the title page. The title page does not have to be an APA. Next week, we are finally diving into APA format, so you don't have to have an APA formatted title page yet, since I haven't discussed what that is quite yet. Make sure type double-spaced, 1-inch margin, 12-point font, Times New Roman, Calibri, something of that sort is fine. Something new this week, since this is not a narrative essay, it's an analytical essay, so we want to keep it a little bit more in the professional writing form. And also just because this is not a persuasive paper, it's an analytical, so we're not trying to convince the audience to believe what you're analyzing is that what you're analyzing is true. It's just what you're finding. So we want to write it in third person. So I provided a worksheet that explains the difference between a paper in first person, a paper in second person, and a paper in third person. Make sure you're writing in third person. Third person uses words like they, it, them. I shouldn't find any of the pronouns I, we, our, things like that, or also avoid the word you, because that's second person. So check out that worksheet that's provided in this week's module for clarity on that. And feel free to ask me about questions with point of view. So I recommend having a section title for each part of the paper. It guides the reader along so that because remember, you want to assume your audience has no idea what a rhetorical analysis is, so your paper helps them learn about it a little bit more. So section titles guide the reader along better into what each part of the paper is. It also helps you stay on track to make sure that you're including everything that's required for the paper. If you don't include section headings, you don't have to. You just make sure that you use topic sentences. I'll also have a worksheet this week. Just make sure to review on what topic sentences are. Topic sentences are the first sentence of each paragraph, and they basically explain or define, the audience basically is able to understand what the entire paper is about, or the entire paragraph is about when they read that topic sentence. So let me show you a student sample. These student samples are available to you in the module as well. So the student sample used section headings. They have the introduction, they put it right there. They have audience purpose together. You can put audience purpose together in one paragraph if you want, or you can separate it. And then they have a paragraph for ethos, paragraph for pathos, paragraph for logos, and conclusion. So that's what section headings are. If you don't want to have section headings, the importance of topic sentences are so important. So if you removed this heading, pathos, and just read this sentence, pathos describes the emotional appeals that provokes feelings like empathy for the audience. That sentence is an excellent topic sentence because it tells me, the reader, that this entire paragraph is only going to analyze pathos and nothing else. And then they'll move on to logos, and there's an excellent topic sentence there as well. So just keep that in mind. Regardless, you should have topic sentences, but if you were to not have section headings, the audience should be able to understand what the next paragraph is going to be about. It's very important in any paper, but especially for an analytical paper. So remember that your title page is page 1, your actual paper starts on page 2. What you should do in the introduction is explain your genre. Basically, the introduction is where you provide background information. The introduction is summary. That's the only place where you should summarize. Everything else is analysis. So the introduction shouldn't be too long. It should just explain what the genre is, meaning what's the title of it, where can it be found, brief maybe history of it if that's relevant, just overall background information, who created the genre, who wrote it, who designed it. And that's the only place where there should be summaries in the introduction. You also want to include a thesis statement that explains the purpose of the paper. A thesis statement is in the introduction. It's usually the last sentence, but not always. And it just tells the reader what the point of this paper is about, to tie in all the topic sentences in the rest of the paragraphs. So if you look at the student sample, this is their thesis statement. It's in the introduction. This rhetorical analysis will show the tools the company used to convey their message to the audience. You could be a little more descriptive with that, but it at least tells you, the reader, what type of paper this is. It's an analytical paper. And that worksheet that I'm providing also has a little bit of an explanation of thesis statements. And then for audience, make sure you describe who the potential audience is of the genre is and why. Don't say everyone's the audience. Not everybody is the audience of something. So think about the lecture on persuasion that we talked about this week, and there was examples of who the audience is with genres, with the genre samples. What the purpose of the genre is it to entertain, inform, all the above, persuade, whatever you think, and why. And then you definitely need at least one paragraph for ethos, at least one paragraph for pathos, at least one paragraph for logos, and the conclusion. The conclusion paragraph ends with the so what. Why should the audience care about viewing, reading, or listening to this genre? Then you can evaluate as well. Which of the 3 rhetorical appeals was most successful, most used in the genre? Which was least successful? Why or why not? And just note that this is not a summary paper. You're not telling me what the genre is about. You're only doing that in the introduction. All this is analysis, where you're providing specific examples from the genre to prove ethos, to prove pathos, to prove logos.